I need a minute of your attention for a quick psychological assessment. Do you struggle with taking feedback or criticism as a personal attack? Needing to be right or have the last word all the time? Seeking constant validation or approval from others? Blaming others? Lack of self-awareness or insight into your own flaws and not knowing how that affects other people around you? And finally, a sense of entitlement that makes you feel as if you deserve certain special treatment or privileges. If you answered yes to most of these questions, it may mean that you're struggling with a big unexamined ego, or maybe someone you know does. A big ego often results from a lack of effort put into your introspection. Without self-introspection, our egos can only grow stronger and take over our actions, behaviors, and thoughts. Keep this in mind and let me help you make efforts towards gaining a serene control over your ego. Hi there, my name is Daniela. I am a licensed therapist and I make videos about mental health, personal development, sometimes pregnancy, sometimes some fun, and everything I find relevant to share with you guys. Welcome to this video on the ego, which I'm going to explain from a shadow work perspective and help you define it and find solutions to take control over it and tame it so you're not acting on unawareness and on patterns are not helping you become the person that you really want to be. What is the ego? Well, as I said, I like to explain it from a Jungian or shadow work perspective. That being said, the ego is part of our conscious psyche because it helps us navigate the world, make decisions, take action. But it also has a functional connection with your unconscious part of the psyche. I see the ego as this filter that grabs information from the unconscious, understands the information may be vulnerable or tender, and then it transforms it into something that seems adaptable in our society. So in summary, the function of the ego is to organize the information that it's in our inner world and bring it to the outer world in ways that feel comfortable but not necessarily healthy. Why? Because this ego is like a mad mama bear. Sometimes it acts in ways that are very defensive or that are attacking other people to protect those tender parts of you. And the problem is that once you feel like your ego is rooting for you, taking care of you, there's no need to dig deep and to find out what are the aspects of your unconscious that are actually hurt by that trigger. So let's dive into a practical example to make sure that you are understanding how the ego can work against you. Imagine that you're in a relationship and things were perfect at the start, but lately you've been feeling insecure, your ego takes over, and you start to become possessive, controlling, and jealous. Your partner feels the weight of your insecurities and starts to withdraw, and the relationship begins to deteriorate. But the ego is not satisfied. It wants to be in control and it acts on insecurity and urges. This is when things start to get messy. You may seek validation and get upset when you don't receive it. You may try to make your partner jealous to make them feel what you feel. Or you may become fixated on loyalty and nag about everything your partner does that feels like a threat to your ego. The point is that you may not realize that this behavior is ego-driven, and it's often what leads to relationship breakdowns. Your partner becomes overwhelmed and leaves you, and then you're left blaming yourself for not noticing how you got here. You may see this pattern happening over and over in different relationships, and you may not know why. Well, the truth is that if you may have been aware of your ego, this would have been a different story for you. How to do that? Well, today I have 6 techniques to share with you that are going to help you to tame your ego and recognize your ego so this type of situations don't happen to you. Number 1, identify your ego. You know I'm all about unlocking your unconscious. So for that reason, my first recommendation is for you to put in some thought and reflection into understanding what your ego is made of. So get a journal. I have mine right here with me. Always have it with me. So yes, write down different feelings, triggers, characteristics, traits. Oh, and also take note of your ego functions. This exercise has really helped me summarize what my ego is made of. I like to have it in a form of bullet points, and the way to do this exercise is that you're going to start with what you feel the vulnerable part of your unconscious is and what your ego is doing as a result in order to protect you. So for example, I am scared of rejection, therefore my ego tries to find ways to avoid situations that might put me at risk of rejection. Or I don't like to be disrespected, therefore my ego becomes really aggressive when I feel like someone is being condescending. Mindfulness. When you start to notice those ego-driven thoughts and feelings creeping in, take a step back and observe them without judgment. Start by labeling the emotion that you are experiencing. See where in your body you experience this emotion or what is causing in your body as a result. And notice the urges and courses of action that the ego wants you to engage in. And then do nothing. This is what mindfulness is about. It's not about doing, it's about observing and being present in the moment. For a deeper dive into mindfulness, practice the technique, watch the thinker. I love this technique that I learned from the book, The Power of Now, which I absolutely recommend. To use it in terms of the ego, what I want you to do is to sit down in a comfortable space, do some breathing exercises, try to find your grounding, and play out a recent problem that's bothering you. Then bring in the ego to this scenario and just watch it talk and do. Allow all of the thoughts coming in and try to see them for what they are, just thoughts. Nothing else. If you want to take it a step further and be solution focused, then what you can do is that at the end of this exercise, you're going to grab your journal and write down all of these thoughts and then put a little arrow next to it and reframe the thoughts, which is another technique, reframing bad thoughts. Let's use the same concept about insecurities in a relationship. Let's say that you catch your ego says, his ex is more attractive than me. You can improve that message with, what truly matters is how I feel about myself. My partner chose me and that is what really counts. Comparison only leads to negativity and serves me no purpose. I am causing harm to myself with these thoughts. Remember, it's not other people who cause the most disturbance in our life. It's all here. It's our mind what does. Shadow integration. As I've mentioned in videos before, I believe acceptance and integration are the key to really reaching the right mind. Make an effort to identify the parts of your ego that you have been denying and repressing. This is going to feel uncomfortable. I know I may be making it sound very easy with giving you some superficial examples, but you have to go deeper than what I'm going in this video. Apply radical personal honesty. And once you have that list in your journal with all of the characteristics of your ego, then it's time to do integration. That means that you're going to sit down, you're going to read everything you wrote, and you're going to start accepting and owning every piece of it. Look at all the negative traits, accept them without judgment. Practice compassion. So I just told you to make a list of all of the negative traits about your ego, to then go over it, read it, accept it, and that's it? No, there's another step. You have to be compassionate towards all of these parts of you. And that is the beauty of shadow work. It's not only about bringing all of the evil personality part of you and all of the dirt that it's inside of you. It's also about transmutation, which means that you're going to grab all of that negative content and turn it into personal growth. So you're going to recognize that all of these ego-driven thoughts, behaviors come from pain, from sorrow, from wounds from the past that you haven't resolved, from things that actually make sense based on your story. And when you think of your ego and this surface level part of your psyche and the physical world and how it's acting, and then you see it from an inward perspective and you notice that it actually comes from all of this trauma and all of these experiences from the past, then you begin to add some human kindness to this whole concept, and that brings you personal enlightenment. This technique will help you reduce anger, judgment, and self-criticism, and as a result, your mind and body is going to be able to relax and release suffering. Use affirmations to tame your ego. After becoming mindful and aware of your ego patterns, use self-talk as a means of healing. And today I'm going to share some useful affirmations that you can use to tame your ego. Ego, you are safe. No one wants to hurt you. You can let your guard down. Ego, it's okay to let go of the need to be right or in control. I release my attachment to ego-driven thoughts and beliefs. I choose to see things from a new perspective. I embrace humility and surrender to these feelings. There's no need to act on my ego-driven urges. I acknowledge my limitations and imperfections and love myself anyway. Taming your ego is satisfying work, I promise. And I think the world will be a better place if all of us were to do a little bit of ego work. So if you agree, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can help me spread out the world, you know? I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was helpful. I'll see you soon in another video.